You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Everybody come on, let's get down. Get down.
Get down. Who did that music?
It always sounds so nice on your show.
Freek bass. All right, buddy, since we're live here on the Friends from Work YouTube channel, this is not a podcast today, just a live video, but I'm going to make a quick tweet here.
Yeah, and do that, and I'll share it too right away too.
Hey, tune in. I'll say just tune in. I'll tag you. Is it cool?
Yep. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Tune in. I'll put, even though I still have my personal Twitter account is still locked for another week or two. I got kind of attacked from a professional level.
It's weird. I got your new Flash trailer, but it doesn't have the retweet little symbol. You know,
right, because of that. So I'm gonna do it from the Friends from Work thing.
Oh, okay, got it.
And I'm gonna and you're tagged. I'm about to put it up right now.
Cool.
Batman.
You're going
this. Tune in. All right, perfect. Yeah, I've got to wait. I had a troll that was doing some stuff with my LinkedIn and on Yelp for a bar I'm partners in, and it was all from politics and probably some anonymous asshole that was doing it.
Oh man, that sucks.
Yeah. Oh well. So we'll move on from that. Who cares?
So is that like a setting you do on like you like that's an option you can have on Twitter where you can choose to let people retweet if you want them to or not, basically?
Yeah, and it's locked. So the only people that can see my tweets right now are people that are
friends or whatever.
That are followers.
Right.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, I've got my hands on a couple of things, and they just found out that I had association with this one restaurant, and they went on the Yelp on that, and then they went to my LinkedIn. I was like, okay, I'm just locking this up for a little while. So anyway, neither here or there, but I just did it from that handle. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. Good. Just
good.
Yes, living in the virtual world of yes, super excited about this Flash movie though, man. I mean, my goodness.
It is. And how do I sound, by the way? Everything sounds
great. Yeah, Mike.
Okay, cool. Great. Okay, perfect. So what I thought we would do, so the last trailer for the Flash dropped. And by last trailer, there'll be a million TV spots and some foreign spots that'll have different footage as well. That always happens. But in terms of the last official theatrical US spot that dropped. And why don't we do this? Why don't we let's watch it, let's discuss it, and then let's also chat a little bit about there was a screening 2 nights ago, right? So
CinemaCon, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So this is Thursday, April 27th, 2023. So on Tuesday night, and there were a lot of reactions. Let's talk about that as well. But let's just kind of get this thing rolling and watch this together. So we are live. So bear with me here. So I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to share screen. Bam. Can you see that? We're good?
Yeah.
All right. By the way, that just looks great. Oh, here we go.
I lost my parents.
Keaton.
First words you hear.
That's right.
That pain.
And is that are those the actual actors that were his parents? And
I don't know.
89? I didn't even think about that.
This is incredible. The way they have it comes down like a bat.
Look at that. Yeah. Okay, I want to talk about this. Look at his long hair here.
I love it.
Had a great chat.
You actually did it.
And that shot too.
God, you actually did it. You know, at first I didn't like that he had the wig or whatever, but it works.
Yeah.
It looks good.
I love you, Monkey. You lost both parents in one day.
So is that Irish speaking? That's the big question. I'm assuming that's who it is.
My parents. But instead, I completely broke the universe.
I mean,
if you went back and changed the past, this world must die.
Oh, I love him so much.
Oh my gosh, he's amazing. He actually said that he.
Symbol stands for.
Hold on, this is great.
Means hope, right?
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Hope if I thought.
God, that's so good.
Yeah.
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
I want to discuss that very
Yeah,
specifically.
of course.
Yeah. Good shot. Look at that. Beautiful.
And the
That
the soundtrack is incredible too.
That almost looks like Batman Returns to me. It had that kind of feel to it.
These scars we have make us who we are.
Man, Affleck's a stud.
Oh, he is.
I mean, prettiest Bruce Wayne we've ever had.
Your tragedy define you.
And I've been around him in person briefly, but in Vegas years ago.
Yeah.
I'm 6'3". He's big, dude.
Yeah.
He's at least 6'4", 6'5". He's a big
Wow.
boy. Yeah.
No matter what we do, we're not going to be able to fix this. No.
What's going on there? Jeez.
I don't know, man. Look at that.
Mm.
Keaton's Batman and Zod. What year is this? I love this. All the symbols has
so
Affleck's
cool.
and Keaton's.
Yeah.
Check this out.
Yeah.
Love this.
Drop to your parachutes.
Where's yours?
Woohoo! Fun. Look at that. Little nod to 89 there too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Wow.
So good. You know,
So good.
Okay, so much to unpack, and I know we have a little bit of limitation on time here, so let's dive right in. So just what are your, I mean, obviously we got a feel for your thoughts on this, but what are some highlights for you on that commercial or that teaser?
Right. Well, again, like I mentioned, the idea that I love the fact the very first voice we hear is Michael Keaton's too, as well, and him talking about losing his parents and the pain. I mean, it's super for being a trailer, so emotional. That with the soundtrack as well. Again, you know, I talked about this on the last time you and Bob and I talked about this briefly. Just Sasha Callie, just there's something that she just pops off that screen so much. I really hope that, you know, if it goes like I think it does, I really hope that Gunn keeps her in his world moving forward. And yeah, and the symbols too. That was another little note I'd made. I was hoping you would bring that up. The symbols at the end. That was so tasty. And it's so tasty the way, no matter how you feel about Snyder or what, you know, whatever it is, it's very Muschietti and whoever was behind that whole thing, just the way that they're kind of just bridging this whole, I mean, this was 10 years, you know, this is getting released. I heard literally 10 years to the day Man of Steel got released, you know, and
oh, wow.
yeah, so I think it's very classy of Warner Brothers and Zaslav or whoever's all behind the decision making in this, that they are just, you know, Snyder was a big part of our superhero life, whether you liked it or not, you know.
Of course he was.
Yeah,
100%. And I will tell you, the man, despite his films being kind of hot and cold for me, but the man can cast.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the man can cast. There's no one he's cast that I can speak of right now off the top of my head that I haven't approved of. My own personal opinion. Like, I mean,
sure.
Like he's not waiting around for my approval. I didn't mean to imply.
Yeah.
I just meant as a fan that I liked. That did not come across the way I wanted it to. As a fan that I liked, and the movies are canon. And you know, there's talks about this resetting Snyder's verse or putting a bow on it. There's been some people when we talk about the screening the other day. I forget the guy's name. The gentleman's from Campia Show. What's his name?
Oh, Robert Burnett.
Thank you. Yeah, Robert tweeted that it's a nice. Sorry, but I forgot his name. I like him. He's good. But he mentioned that it was a nice way to wrap up the Snyderverse. Of course, some of the Snyder fans are not liking that too much. I don't know what any of that means.
Right.
And obviously with the screenings, I will take them with a grain of salt. I'm not saying people are bullshitting. What I am saying is I do know that it is easy to get wrapped up in a moment when you're there. It's the premiere like that. But I will tell you, there's a lot of good faith people that have really encouraged me and given me optimism. And at the end of the day, all that matters is what you and I think about it ourselves.
Sure.
Right? But there's a lot of goodwill behind this. And the fact that Warner Brothers screened this as early as they did, that's very telling. It always is, that regardless of anyone's personal opinion on it, the studio has a lot of confidence in this film. That's without doubt. And let me ask you this. Is it just me, or like with some of the other films since Gunn has taken over that were prior to him, and we haven't had a Gunn DC film yet, obviously, but prior to Gunn, well, that's not true.
Well, Suicide Squad.
Yeah, we have. I'm sorry. Yes, we
Yeah.
have. Okay, let me reset that statement. Of course we have. and then obviously he did Peacemaker. But
Right.
I'm saying since his new vision, his new launch of this thing, as he's now fully in charge of it,
Yeah.
Superman Legacy will launch that. That's what I was trying to say.
Sure.
So, but yeah, he obviously did Suicide Squad, which was awesome. But he still has been a cheerleader for these other films that he wasn't technically a part of prior to him, his promotion, so to speak. But there's something about his enthusiasm for this particular movie that I feel like is very authentic. Are you feeling that as well?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, obviously he's got to get behind every movie because now he's the DC guy to an extent, you know, but yeah, I mean, I forget what the exact statement was, but something along the lines of one of the best superhero movies I've ever seen. He didn't have to say that. He could have just been like, go see this movie and, you know, it's great or whatever. But to make that statement, that's a pretty bold statement, you know?
It is. It's a bold statement. And I feel like that there's some authenticity behind that. I think he genuinely is really excited for people to see this. And then we'll see where this goes. You know, the whole Black Label thing too. There's a million things he can do. Maybe
Rick, I don't mean to interrupt you real quick. The one thing I saw this morning that I have a feeling is probably, as this day goes on, probably is going to be the big Twitter discussion of the day. Andrew Machete got interviewed. I don't know if it was at CinemaCon or just recently, and they're already talking sequel. And it's like, what? Like they asked somebody directly, if this movie does really well, do you feel like there'll be a sequel to it? And he's like, that's what we're all hoping for. And something along those lines. So that's very interesting. Like if that's the case.
Well, that is very interesting. And, you know, maybe that's a political statement, maybe not. But at the end of the day, what we do know is that with the multiverse stuff that has been established really in terms of modern cinema, it has worked. Thank you, Spider-Man. And of this works, then the cool thing about that is it allows, you know, these creators to do these offshoot things because they can. You can do a Keaton, you know, Batman Beyond kind of thing if you wanted to do that, right? Versus just being kind of pigeonholed to this particular canon because now you can get away with that. I mean, we have Joker, we have Matt Reeves' Batman. Those are not related, and they're not related to this. Yeah. And Keaton's loosely related to all this stuff, obviously now because of the multiverse. But who knows what they can do with his incarnation or whatever. I think the sky's the limit, and I wouldn't disregard or I wouldn't discount anything that anybody says. We have no idea.
Sure.
They have a plan, and I don't think those things are mutually exclusive. I think I'm saying that right. Mutually inclusive and mutually exclusive trips me up. That does it you?
Yeah.
Am I saying that right, or should I say it the other way? But I'm just saying they don't necessarily have one thing to do with the other. Is my point, is that they can branch off. Okay. Let's hone in on the trailer. So a couple of things that I thought, there's so much going on in that, but just a couple of highlights for me that I wanted to give the floor to you. I really love the shot, and I mentioned it, where Bruce is standing there looking at all the bat suits. And I love the little Easter eggs. I love that Adam West bat logos on one of those suits, man.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's cool. But he's got the long gray hair. Did you see that?
Yeah, it's great. That's great.
So cool. And I was talking to Ryan Haas this morning from everybody knows from Batman on Films, a good friend of mine. And I just kind of wanted his insight on a couple of things. And we were discussing that moment. And I said, kind of gives me a nod to Dark Knight Rises. He's, well, of course, which gave us a nod to Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. I'm like, yeah, well, of course. Duh, right? Of course it did.
Yeah.
And, a side note, I always felt like Nolan didn't get enough credit from the comic book fans, that he pulled a lot from the comics. And, but neither here or there. But there's something about that scene that's really cool. And it just makes me wonder, where has his Bruce Wayne been? What has he been doing? Did he ever have a Robin? Is there reference to things that transpired post Batman Returns since 1992? Like, how far deep down the rabbit hole are they going to do? I suspect some cameos. No, I have not heard anything. Thank God. Right. I don't want to know, but I mean, we can probably safely assume, unfortunately, we're not going to see Jack Nicholson, but who knows if Danny DeVito or Michelle Pfeiffer pop up? I mean, who knows? Or Billy D. Williams.
Yeah.
His Two-Face would be awesome.
Yes.
Dude, I didn't even think about that till just now. But yeah, there's all sorts of things so that they can go down. So that was a standout moment for me. What I really liked about this trailer also is that it gave us a lot of heart. I felt like you hear that a lot about this movie, And seeing this trailer, for me, it really tugged on my heartstrings. I feel like that we're going to have an emotional wallop. I think it's going to be a really good film. And then just the other standout stuff for me is and I want to kind of get into this a little bit more on a granular level, but the let's get nuts thing. And this is something Ryan and I also were discussing, and I've discussed it with many other friends as well and fans on Twitter. And, there's some people that are thinking this is a little too heavy handed, that they don't like the fact that he's regurgitating lines from 89. Here's my personal perspective on this. And I'll make it real quick. That line in particular, to me, the way he delivers it, I don't feel like it's a wink. I feel like that's something that Bruce Wayne has said a million times, maybe even potentially when he was a kid. That's just kind of a line of his.
I agree.
And it comes out so natural. Is it a nod to the 89 film? Of course it is. Are they trying to sell nostalgia to get fans of those films in? Of course they are. But once we're there and we're sitting in the theater, I don't think that stuff I'm Batman, and that line is probably all that we're gonna get. He's not gonna say the soup is cold and can you pass the salt? I mean, we're not going to get, what I mean? Right. I bought it in Japan. We're not going to get every great line. And that'll be so minimal that I'm not concerned about that at all. I think that it's just a fun way to promote the film. And just everything looks great, man. I like the last scene too. There's something about Keaton's Batman voice, his Bat voice I've always just loved, especially now there's been so many since him. There's something about his that he can kind of pull off really sounding like himself, but not. It doesn't sound disguised. It just sounds kind of heightened. And that's different from what Christian Bale and Affleck were doing. And I guess you could even say to a certain extent, I mean, George Clooney's Batman was just George Clooney. The whole thing, so that one doesn't really count. Right. But that whole, something about the parachute line, it's just hearing him speak as Batman again is so damn cool. So I'm stoked, man. I'm stoked. So floor is yours. Tell us about your highlights. What did you love most about it? What are you most looking forward to?
Well, we mentioned as we were watching it before, the whole, even that it's only, I think he delivers 1 or 2 lines in the trailer. Michael Shannon is just, man, what a villain. He's just, I mean, I love him as an actor and almost everything he does, but just that presence. And I'm sure you've heard the story. Maybe you might even mention about how he got permission again from, he said he felt a little weird when he got asked to recreate the character, and he actually went and asked Zack if it'll be okay and got his blessing from Zack Snyder, which was cool to hear.
I agree.
Yeah, so that's great. I mean, the Keaton thing, it's just, I mean, what world are we living in that this is even happening? It's wild. And I was, I made a note yesterday when you first asked me to do this about, speaking of the multiverse, with the exception, of course, of Spider-Man No Way Home, which was done pitch perfect, obviously. I think the general audiences, the whole multiverse concept is going to be, for a general audience person, is going to be the way DC's doing it, at least what we've seen so far, is going to be a little bit easier to swallow than the way that Marvel is doing. Like Marvel, if you're a comic book fan and you know the ins and outs, and that Marvel not only is doing multiverse, they're also at the same time simultaneously introducing a lot of not so well characters within this multiverse. Again, with Spider-Man excluded, of course, but everybody else. And that's where it gets really, if you're not a hardcore person like you and I, it gets kind of but everybody knows Batman, everybody knows Superman, and it's a very digestible concept. And so I think that's another reason why this movie is going to work, because you're not, there's Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton are in it. What's going on here? I think, but they're two major movie stars, and so it's, you've already got that to begin with. So I mean, the Affleck stuff, I mean, I'm assuming the Affleck stuff is going to be the opening sequel, who knows, but almost like in a James Bond kind of way, like that, all the scenes with him as Batman, I picture that being almost like the first 10 minutes of the movie, maybe even pre-credits, yeah, it just blows. I mean, I've watched that trailer probably 10 times already, and I'll probably watch it another 10 to 20 after we get off the line here. And so excited, hopefully it has the legs that we all hope it will. All the CinemaCon reviews were just outstanding. I saw 1 or 2 not great, and who knows, it's Twitter, so who knows, but it almost felt like that somebody had to be contrarian just so they could say they were the contrarian one. You know, it
That's right.
had that tinge to it. But everybody and even like, you know, you brought up Robert Burnett and Campy and stuff. Those guys both, I watched their little reviews of it and of the movie, and they were saying it was great, but they weren't like, this is the best movie, you know, superhero movie of all time. They were tempered in it, but they still said it's great, which that was nice to see too as well. So
Absolutely. And I felt the same way about Kristen Harloff. He came out and said, is it the greatest comic book movie ever made? No. Is it really good? Yes. I can't wait to see it again.
yeah.
And I feel like that's probably where I'm going to be, but then who knows? Who knows? I may hate it. I may think it's the best film ever made. My guess is I'm going to really, really enjoy it. I can't imagine me not. It would have to really suck for me just not to at least enjoy myself. But, you know, as far as the reactions go, like I said at the top of this thing, taking those with a grain of salt, people can get wrapped up in the moment. I'm not accusing them of shilling or lying. I'm just saying, right, sometimes that happens in those moments. But what I can tell you is that, again, the studio allowing it to be seen and to have reactions that early, that in itself, the studio execs, James Gunn is included, they are behind this movie.
Work with, obviously it's the formula they worked for Top Gun last year, and it worked, you know, so they already have the template, you know, and it worked really well for that movie. So
correct. But yeah, you're right. There's some contrary, and I don't know Jeff Schneider personally or anything, but he went to Twitter, was like, I'm so embarrassed for my profession and all these people shilling, and this movie was a mess in the last hour. And maybe that's his legitimate opinion, and maybe he really does feel that way. But for those kind of takes, and, you know, maybe not him specifically, but those kind of takes, you're right. I feel like sometimes it's almost like you can pander to whatever audience you're trying to pander to. You can pander to the non-Snyder, you know, like unfortunately there's a faction of Snyder's fans that they don't like anything. Everything sucks unless he's done it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just an unfortunate part of fandom right now. And then there's people that everything is great. So, but there are good faith people out there, and I consider Kristen Harloff one of them. And so at the end of the day, there is goodwill and a good vibe going right now. That's indisputable, and that's so great.
Yeah,
that's so great.
Let me ask you this: do you have any, and maybe you were going to bring this up at all, but you know, any predictions about what's, you know? Let me just ask you one. I'll just say the elephant in the room: Keaton going to survive the movie? Is he going to still be alive at the end of the movie?
I really do think that's a given, especially considering they would have had to rewrite that to kill him off, because he was already in Batgirl, which was post these events, because he was in right. And they were going to use them more. So they would have had to have gone and changed that. And I don't think this is a Harrison Ford thing where he, you know, agreed to come back only if the character was killed.
Right.
Right. I don't think so. But the larger questions for me are, how many cameos or whatever we're going to get from the Burtonverse? You know, how many, you know, what kind of references are we going to have? Is there a scene with Affleck and Keaton? Maybe there is. Maybe it's not necessary and it wouldn't work. You know, those are the sort of the looming questions I have, and I hope I don't find those out prior to going in, particularly like a really cool cameo. I'd love to see Michelle Pfeiffer pop up in this thing.
Yes, yeah. And
you know,
and I could see that, you know, she's obviously become kind of the semi-it person again, you know, with, you know, even the worst reviews of Ant-Man, pretty much the consensus was how great she was in it, which she is, by the way. She's incredible in it.
She's so good.
Oh yeah, just really amazing. Oh, now what do you like? What do you think about the Ezra Miller thing? Does the general audience, is that going to affect it? I know you and I, you know, we see that because we're Twitter people, but I mean, do you think the general audience is even going to really care about that kind of stuff? You know, I'm not saying that it shouldn't be cared about. I'm just saying, do they think that's, I don't know if like your average person even knows about the Ezra stuff. I'm not sure if that, you know, crossed into mainstream, you know, mindset yet.
Well, it's a great question. I kind of doubt it. Hopefully, knock on wood, for a variety of different reasons, nothing else pops up between now and then.
Of course, right.
That's more my bigger concern.
Right.
Is he's kind of a loose cannon, apparently. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle press with him. Is he making his rounds? Does he go on Jimmy Kimmel? And if he does, is he asked about that stuff?
Yeah.
And quite frankly, does Michael Keaton get asked about that stuff? Right. I don't know. These stars allow themselves to they give access to a lot of people these days that they wouldn't have 10 years ago. Of course, maybe you could argue 10 years ago these people weren't there to have the access given to them, which I guess is a little fair of a statement. But they're making their rounds on all the YouTuber shows and stuff like that. Those are the ones that I feel like are less restrained.
Yeah.
When they get on those for whatever reason. So we'll see. I don't know. Does it affect the box office? I don't think it has any bearing on it.
Yeah.
The marketing will be interesting. But I tell you, the guy is good.
Yeah. He's so good.
He's so damn good. And I hope he gets better. Listen, people have survived worse, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They have survived worse. And studios have survived worse. I mean, the Crow is great, and the actor is bad CGI in the last 20 minutes of the film because he was killed on set.
Right.
I just feel like if you can pull that tragedy off, then should be fine. The $1 billion question is, where does do they use him after this? And really, is it? And if they don't, is it based on anything like that? Or is it just by virtue of the fact that everything is getting reset?
Right.
We'll see. I'm really curious to know what Robert meant by putting a bow. Does this have some kind of definitive, true ending to all that, in the sense of it gives justification to the creators to move on?
Yeah.
Or is that kind of a loose statement, and then these things can still coexist? Again, we've said this already, but the multiverse part of this this new age of cinema really makes everything possible.
Sure.
Right, which has got to be pretty cool for everybody. It can it's like, look, we can still do this. I'm going to do this, but we can offshoot this.
Yeah.
And when you and I look up and we have assuming Keaton continues, and maybe even Affleck, who knows? I think this is his swan song for sure. But we'll have 3 Batmen at some point.
Yeah.
At minimum.
Right. Well, Batman. Then we got what? The Brave
Hell,
and the Bold.
we have 3 now. What am I saying? We have 3 now, right?
Yeah.
James Gunn's Batman is just going to replace Affleck's Batman in that regard.
Right.
God,
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. We have 3 Batman right now, 2 in the same movie.
I know. What an amazing world we live in. Yes.
Right.
I wanted to say real quick about Keaton, and I know we've been, really talking about him quite a bit, but the one thing, watching him in both these trailers, the first one and this one too, the famous college speech on Batman, we've all seen that online a million times, and he's been, quotes that line quite a bit. There is an air about him that he is so comfortable in his skin playing this character, and it's just so freaking natural and so believable, even that he's a big movie star with a big personality, that it's just incredible to see. I mean, a 70-year-old man playing a superhero should not make sense or work. And with him, it's totally 100% believable.
It is, because you're right. He's so comfortable in it. And how many fans that are younger that are going to say, "Wait, Vulture is Batman?"
Right.
How cool is that? And my favorite films are 89 and the Nolan trilogy, and the Batman for that matter. I love all those movies so much.
Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of Returns. I have issues with some things in that film, but it was never about him.
Yeah.
And I think that Joe Schumacher taking over those films and losing him lost me. As much as I had problems with Returns, Forever was kind of a mess for me because it was jarring. So Kilmer's awesome.
Yeah.
Just the writing, the script, the tone, the aesthetic, all that stuff. So to see him come back and to be able to have, even if it's his one-off, to be able to kind of an Andrew Garfield, and because he's been on record saying, I'm gonna paraphrase, but that he gets to kind of come in and take a final bow.
Yeah.
Because he didn't get to return for a third film. Very similar to this, like a beloved actor playing an iconic character. But the difference in Keaton's Batman and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, or really anybody else, is that he launched the modern cinema Batman. 89 had to work for us to even have Pattinson's Batman.
Yeah.
Right. And we deviated from that with the Joe Schumacher stuff quite a bit with Batman and Robin. But ultimately, Keaton is kind of the Chris Reeve of Batman.
Yeah.
And
sure.
And that is cool to have. And, and Zaki Hassan mentioned this on the show that you and I did together, I believe, with him. He mentioned, too bad Chris isn't around because he would be a part of this. And he was such a flag carrier for Superman. He would have done it. I'm like,
oh, for sure. Yeah, no doubt.
You know what? You're right. You think about Brendan Routh coming back, all these cool things that are going on. It's just kind of look, let's just celebrate the fact that Keaton is alive and well and able to do this. And if it's the last time we see him, I'm going to enjoy every second of it. All right, man, we're at that 30-minute mark. Let's wrap this up. You give us a plug, but any final thoughts on this or anything?
I'm going to be there on Thursday night for that one for sure. And I'm going to have to figure out, I don't like being spoiled. It doesn't kill me, but I don't like to, but this one, it's going to be tough with Twitter, but I'm going to try my best. I really want to go into this. This trailer is the last thing I want to see. Even already, I'm starting to, glaze over anything that even mentions this movie now that I've got some of the CinemaCon reviews that I really want to, this trailer be the last thing that I see before I walk into that movie theater. I mean, I want to breathe it all in, all the cameos, everything. I really don't, if I can, I don't want to get spoiled. I'm so tempted to, because I know I could find it out in 2 seconds, but I really don't want to on this. Yeah.
It's kind of impressive that we haven't had that up until this point. That screening. So kudos to everybody that went to obeying the rules where that's concerned, because that's a real crappy thing to do. All right. Well, listen, we both share this enthusiasm. We both love this character. We both love Keaton. I love enough about Snyder's universe. You love the Snyder universe for us to be excited about some of these people returning.
Yeah.
Shannon Zod, Supergirl looks great. Looks like a good compliment to Cavill Superman. I love, by the way, that one line too, where she says, you know what this stands for? And he's kind of like, does that mean hope? It's like, God, what a great exchange that is. It's so good.
Yeah.
So, all right, buddy. Well, listen, I can't wait till this thing is out, and then we can talk about it.
Yeah. Let's make that a 4-hour podcast.
That's right.
Need it. Yeah.
We'll do a 2 to 3 part of it. But anyway, well, thanks for doing this last minute.
Of course.
So much. Where can we find you on Twitter?
Twitter at Freekbase, anywhere pretty much. FREEKBASS, TikTok, Twitch. I'm always living online anymore. That's it.
Awesome. Well, I'm Rick Shue. On behalf of me, Brian Chatlin, and Courtney Cheek, we're the friends from work. We thank you for listening, and we'll have Freekbase actually quite literally take us out.